Well, good morning, Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, and welcome to our Facebook Live community who has joined us live today. Welcome to our Sunday celebration here at 50 Dudley Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. This is an amazing and beautiful community of love, peace, joy, and we are conscious spiritual seekers, right?
Yes.
That's what we come here together for. So, my name is Rev G. Stewart, and I, along with Rev Ed Tansey, are the founders and spiritual leaders of this amazing community of light. We are a light in the Northeast, right? That's who we are. At this center, we learn, study, and practice the philosophy of the science of mind, which is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought, and how our thoughts are creating our reality. This was all synthesized by our founder, Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes. Here, we are radically inclusive and celebrate all paths that lead to that infinite energy or God of your understanding. It doesn't matter what you call this universal energy. What's important is that we remember that we are always using it with our consciousness in life. We are using it through our thoughts, our beliefs, and we are empowering it with our emotions and our feelings. And that's what's bringing our life into form. It's becoming aware of what we're thinking and what we're believing. So I welcome our Facebook Live community to check out our website at cslboston.org to find out more about our classes, our purpose in the world, and how you can support this purpose with your financial support. And we welcome that, and we thank you in advance for your giving. So if you will please join with me as we set the tone for this service with an evocation or a prayer. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes and just settle back and let yourself be fully supported by your chair. Realizing and recognizing that in this moment there is absolutely only one infinite intelligence, universal presence, light, love, joy, peace that I call the Mother, Father, God. This presence and this power that is the support, that is the everlasting arms of the universe, supporting and uplifting and enfolding all things, for it is the source, it is the substance, it is the creative energy of the universe. It is awake and aware and alive in and as and through all of its creation, for it is the source of all of that. Therefore, I know that all of the attributes of this divine energy of love and peace and joy and perfection and wholeness and abundance and all of the good in the universe, I know that I am one with all of that. And as I know this for myself, I know and I claim this right here and right now for each one in this room, for each one who has joined us on Facebook Live, and for those who watch on the archives. I know that this divine energy is one with all throughout the cosmos. And so in this place of knowing this oneness, I call forth today's activity, today's celebration service, knowing that the divine energy is uplifting and enfolding and empowering each one here and each one who listens to this message. I know that this divine energy is expressing as me right here and right now as I share these words, and I know that each one grabs what is powerful in their life right here and right now. I am grateful for this. I am joyous in the realization that the divine energy has already unfolded its gifts right here and right now. That it is the givingness of the universe that is expressing in this moment. And it is with a thankful and a joyous heart that I breathe this into the law of absolute activity that makes this word take form right here and right now. That is what it does. This or something better I know has already been revealed in this moment, and I say, blessed be, amen, ashe, aho. And I ground it by saying, and so it is. So I joyfully request that our beautiful practitioner Liza comes up and shares her spiritual reading with us this morning.
So the theme of the week is centered around the power in thought. And before you can really embody and understand and respect the power of thought and how thoughts become things, you have to have a full understanding of what you are, what we all are, and that is the light. So this reading is from I Am, the Open Door, the Ascended Masters Discourses, Discourse 1, the Great Divine Director, which is what each one here truly is. In the center of your being is a great light, and you are that light. This is the truth of your being. You shall know this truth, and this truth shall make you free. This is the truth Jesus spoke, the truth for all men, that all men can know. And how can you know this truth? By direct experience. The light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world is a reality. As a reality, it can be experienced. As the wind cannot be seen, only in its effect seen, only its pressure felt, so too can the effect of the light within you be seen. Its pressure felt. And that pressure is a power far beyond the human mind to comprehend. If you would see that light, then you must go to the light, and that light is within you, within, around, and above. And all things are composed of that light, and that light is within all things. There is no thing, no person, that is not of the light. But before the light can be seen, it is felt, and to feel, you must first develop the ability to feel, and the source of that ability to feel is in the heart. Your heart is the very center of your being. It is the center of your feelings, the center where the pressure of the light can first be felt, then seen, and it can be seen. It takes practice. Do you know of anything worth attaining that does not take practice? Preserve, for the light of God stands above all the world, and you are that light. The more that you dwell on that truth, the more certain of it you will become, and the stronger will the truth of it be within you. Whatsoever your attention is upon, that you become. Your attention is a great lens by which you focus your energy and control your being. In all is that power of attention active at all times, whether consciously or unconsciously. What you are, what you experience at any given moment, is simply the result of what you have allowed your attention to be focused upon. If you allow your attention to be attracted by things of the senses, you will live in the world of the senses, a captive. While if you direct your attention to the light within you, will find freedom and enter the kingdom of heaven. You have within you every moment the choice. In the center of your being, you have a divine director. The consciousness of the real you that will guide and direct you in your choice at every moment if you will turn your attention to it. And it is a great blazing sun within you. I thank you. So just focus on these words. Into thy hands, O Father, I commend myself, mind, heart, life, world, for I know that I am your child. From you I came, all that I have, all that I am is yours, and unto you I now and forever return. Thy will be done through me as it is in you. I am one in God forever.
So beautiful. Thank you, Liza. That was beautiful. What was the name of that book?
The Ascended Masters
The Ascended
Discourses.
Masters. Ooh, I like that. Wonderful. Well, here we are in 2020. Can you believe it? Wow. And I call it 2020 vision. Right? Now, the beautiful thing is that our 2020 theme for Centers for Spiritual Living is spiritual vision. So it's 2020 spiritual vision. That's what we're doing this year. January is getting grounded back to basics. Usually we go back to the first 8 chapters of the Science of Mind, and that's what we're doing with these first 4 weeks of the year. We'll be going back into the different, this is actually chapter 8 that we'll be talking about today, which is the power of thought. The power of our thought. It's a powerful thing to realize and to take in. So as I said before, this is chapter 8 of the Science of Mind text. The things that I would like to cover today are actually, do you believe everything you think? Examining our thoughts and seeing how they are affecting our lives, and making new choices to empower our lives. Are we up for that today?
Yes.
Do we want to make a difference in our lives? And what happens when we make a difference in our lives?
Make a difference in
The world, exactly. We show up in the world in a better way. So let's start with, do you believe everything that you think? Did you know that according to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day? Can you imagine that? Per day. Even up to 80,000. Now, I don't know if the 80,000 is up for celebration, because guess what? Of those thoughts, 85% of those thoughts are negative and 95 are repetitive. Ouch. That's scary. That's scary that our minds are doing this. But here's the beauty. Here's the beauty of this teaching, this philosophy, is that we can take that information and in consciousness, we can turn it on its head, can't we? We can shift it and say, no, I'm not going to accept those negative thoughts anymore. And I'm going to become aware of them, and I'm going to push them aside, and I'm going to choose the thoughts that I want to think. I'm going to choose the life that I want. Would you agree?
Yes.
And that's what we do here. That's the beauty of this. Now, Ernest Holmes tells us this. He tells us, and we heard this earlier today, to learn how to think is to learn how to live. For our thoughts go into a medium that is infinite in its ability to do and to be. So our thoughts are going into that infinite medium. And we are creating our lives every day with what we are saying and what we are thinking. So if our thoughts are indeed going into this medium that is infinite in its ability to do and to be, our work is becoming aware of the negatives and making new choices. Would you agree?
Yes.
Making new choices. So as we become aware and start making these new choices, we can actually listen to the advice of Wayne Dyer, who says this: choose to avoid thoughts that weaken you, and you will know true wisdom. It's your choice. So it's becoming aware of those thoughts that weaken us. We have to work on that. And then we will know true wisdom. So I know what drew me to this philosophy was the empowerment that it offered me. It offered me the ability to empower and take my life back from the old ideas, the old beliefs, the separation, the fear, the limitation, the world of effect, and know that there's something greater. Now, I had small tastes of empowerment in my childhood and even into my teens, but it seemed like every time I felt like there was this empowerment, bless you, my dear. So every time I reached this empowerment, it seemed that there was something there or someone there who was like pulling the rug out from underneath me. Anybody ever felt that? You felt like you stepped into your empowerment and then all of a sudden, whoa, it feels like it's all gone again. You know what was interesting, though, is that as I started to study this philosophy and live in this philosophy, I realized that as I looked back, it was me a lot of times that was the pulling the rug out from underneath myself. Because I accepted what other people said or believed about me. And I needed to move beyond that. That's what we're talking about here today, is choosing those thoughts that help us move beyond those limited ideas and those fearful thoughts. So, in discovering the science of mind, it offered me tools to grow in consciousness and begin to make more empowering choices. And I think that many of us here who are, maybe not new to the philosophy are aware of that because we've taken classes to deepen these principles and allow ourselves to empower ourselves in our lives. And I know that we have a lot of empowered people in this room. And what happens when we're empowered? We empower those around us, don't we? We step into the lives of others and we awaken this beauty within them. So using these tools allowed me to quiet the negative thoughts down and focus on new, wiser choices. Just like he told us. Stop thinking the thoughts that weaken you, and you will find true wisdom. So that's what we're talking about here. So it ultimately allowed me, and it allows us, to examine our thoughts and see how they are affecting our lives. Now, Emmett Fox, one of the wonderful New Thought teachers of our time, or of Ernest Holmes' time, I guess, not my time personally, before my time. But anyway, so Emmett Fox tells us this: what you think upon grows. Okay? Whatever you allow to occupy your mind, you magnify in your life. Whether the subject of your thoughts is good or bad, the law works and the condition grows. So the law is always working. What are we putting into it? The good or the bad? The fearful or or the positive? Any subject that you keep out of your mind tends to diminish in your life, because what you do not use atrophies. If we don't use our arm, if we never lift our arm, or if we cut off the circulation, it atrophies. And at some point it might even fall off if we don't bring the circulation back to it. So if I'm not circulating it into the negative ideas, then it atrophies and dies, and I lose it. So the more you think of grievances, the more such trials you will continue to receive. The more you think of the good fortune you have had, the more good fortune will come to you. Are we up for the good fortune?
Yes.
Yes. Right? So the grievances are our unforgiving thoughts, our beliefs, our holding on to those things that we know are not the truth of us, and yet that comes in those 60,000 or 80,000 thoughts that we talked about. That little, it's the little voice of that inner critic telling us you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. You know, you're a woman, you're a man, or you're a whatever. You know, that it's all those things that we hold on to that limit us. So I watched my life as I focused on my good fortune and continued to quiet my mind of these undesirable thoughts. So the beliefs in the self-deprecation, the downright hateful things that were wandering around in my past consciousness and in my thoughts that I needed to abolish, I needed to get rid of, I needed to free myself from. So by taking the energy away from these limited thoughts, I was causing them to atrophy in my life. They were going away. And it's wonderful. My life took a whole new turn. So by taking the energy away from the limited thoughts, we cause them to atrophy. We allow them to die. How many of us find ourselves saying, I am not good enough. I am a procrastinator. I am poor. I don't have enough money. Right? All of these things. Now here's the thing about the I am statements. When we place those labels on ourselves, we are saying that the great I am, which is what we hear in the Bible, what Moses, when he asked, who am I to say sent me, he said, I am that I am. The divine energy, the God of our understanding said, I am that I am. So when I say I am, what am I doing? I'm saying that the I am of me is poor. Wait a minute, that the God of me is poor? What? It can't be. This infinite energy is not any of those negative things. It is good and only good. It is always giving of itself. It is always uplifting and enfolding us into a greater place of being. So when you say that, you are saying that the God of you is not good enough. You're saying that the God of you is a procrastinator. The God of you is poor. And we know that the divine is abundance, is perfection, is wholeness, is completeness, and is always trying to reveal that through us. So by abolishing those 60,000 limited, fearful, the 85% of those thoughts that are negative and fearful, we're stepping into a new I am. So this is interesting. So what happens, it's like, how do I state these things and not accept them in my life? Not accept them as truth? Now, here's the beautiful thing, is that Eckhart Tolle tells us in his book, The New Earth, that instead of putting the I am in front of these statements, Put I feel. Or better yet, ask yourself, why do I feel poor? Why do I feel like I'm a procrastinator? Why do I feel not good enough? Because in questioning that, then you start to say, is that the truth of who I am? And then you can start to say, no, that's not who I am. That is not who I am. I am all the attributes of the divine, of the Mother, Father, God, of this infinite energy. So, by doing that, we are beginning to look more deeply at these limited separation beliefs to have a more positive experience, to change what we're thinking, to empower our lives for what we want. So I remember back in the day, I had a lot of negative self-talk. Anybody been there and done that? And we still do it. But it's okay. You can stop yourself at any time, right? And you can free yourself from that. Because what we do here is we practice, practice, practice. We don't just read about the stuff, we practice it in our lives. We find that deeper being. So, what happened with me was my negative self-talk came out as sarcasm. Anybody know sarcastic people? Oh, I was so sarcastic. That I really believed that I could get rid of those negative beliefs by putting them on somebody else. Because that's what we're doing with sarcasm, is we're putting it on someone else. Because I don't like it in my life, so if I put it on you, that's better, right? It wasn't actually, because what was happening is it was coming back to me multiplied in more negative experiences in my life. Because the inner me already knew that what I was doing with someone else, what I was putting on someone else, was only something that I knew about myself. So I was multiplying that power in a way that took away my possibilities, that pulled the rug out from underneath in my empowered moments, which I don't do that anymore. Because I realized that sarcasm is cruel, and it hurts, and it doesn't work, that I wanted something more. So, I want to tell you a story about a psychologist who was teaching a stress management class. I meant to have a glass of water here, and I forgot, but that's okay. So imagine that there's a glass of water here, and this psychologist lifts that glass of water up and holds it up before the group. And of course, everybody's mind goes to, oh, is it half empty or half full, right? That's where everybody's mind went. But no, instead, what the teacher said was, she said, how much does this glass of water weigh? How much does this glass of water weigh? So all of the students holler out all these different weights that it could be, right? But the teacher said, it's not important how much it weighs. It's important how long you hold it. Notice I'm still holding the glass here. Don't you love my mind? I love my mind. So, the longer you hold that glass, the heavier it becomes. After a minute, it's no big deal, right? But after an hour of holding that glass, it can become heavy, right? You start to feel kind of a discomfort in your arm. And if I held it for the whole day, my arm could become paralyzed. Have you ever held something for a long, long time and you notice how your arm just kind of gets tingly? So if I hold on to that for all that time, it becomes heavier. So when we talk about stresses and worries, right? Oh, I'm going to set that down. It's getting very heavy. Anyway, so when we talk about stresses and worries, they're like that glass of water, right? If I think about them quickly and shortly during the day, I can negate them. I can say, that's not the truth of who I am. And it's not that big a deal, right? But if I do it for an hour, it becomes heavier on my consciousness, doesn't it?
Yes.
And so if I do that for the entire day, I can become paralyzed in the limited belief. Can I not? So why would I want to do that? So what I need to do is I need to remember to set the glass down, to set the thoughts aside, the thoughts that don't empower you. I just think that's such an awesome story. I can just see that. And the consciousness that wakes up in us when we realize, oh my God, if I can compare that heavy glass that I'm holding for an hour or I'm holding for a day to the thoughts that I'm thinking in the day, I am empowering myself to step into a greater expression of who I am. So in this place of putting that glass down, we can then make new choices, right? We can make new empowering choices for an empowered life. And that's where we start. So I remember, I love this, because I love this idea that we can evaluate ourselves, look at what's going on in our life, and then we can start to say, well, why am I saying that to myself when it's not the truth? Why am I saying that I'm not good enough when that's not the truth? How can you be not good enough when you are an expression of the infinite, of the universal, of the God of your understanding? You can't be any less than. But we believe that because people around us tell us, we tell ourselves, and we hear it. So we can take those thoughts and we can change them to new ones. Or if we're not ready to change them to new ones, maybe we can reframe them, right? I have to tell you a story about myself, because we just recently, the summer we had the Asilomar, which was the summer conference, and I chose to go to one of the workshops, and it was called Reframing Your Life. And anybody who knows me knows that I am not an artsy, craftsy person. That when I see artsy, craftsy, I'm like, oh no. So it was funny because so I walk in the room and it's all about reframing your story, and I thought this will be fun, I'll really enjoy this. I walk in and right on the table are frames and all of this artsy stuff to be in glue and stuff, and I'm like going, okay. Now Rev Ed had actually accidentally walked into that room. He was going to another workshop, and he was like going, oh, this is the workshop that Rev G is going to? He won't last. So I walk in and I thought, well, I saw a group of people that I know. I'll go ahead and sit with them. And I stayed. And I actually enjoyed the portion where the woman spoke about reframing your life and using tools to reframe your life. But as soon as they got to the artsy part, I was like, I think I need to go to the bathroom. And I never came back. Because it's not something that works for me. But if it does work for you, think of reframing. She talked about, this is the one thing that I love that she talked about in the class. Limited idea, yes. Well, my mother was an artsy, craftsy person, so I was surrounded by that all my life, so I don't want it. But I will say this, that the woman who taught the class, she said this about, that by creating this frame with all of these beautiful things on it, and then putting a picture in it of maybe something that you want to experience more of, like an expression and experience something in it, and you continue to do that. She talked about how her daughter had done that and how she had shifted her life story. So she had actually put something in there. By creating that frame around it, you were creating a new frame around an idea. And so it's working in consciousness to bring forward greater things. Like I say, wouldn't work for me, but there are those that it would work for. And that's the beauty of this teaching, is as Ernest Holmes always said, if that doesn't work for you, use one of our other amazing tools that we're offering you. Meditation, contemplation, spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of scientific prayer. All of these things that we have are tools that we have to make our lives better. And we use them, and we practice with them all the time. So it's always important to remember that it took a lot of baby steps to move away from the truth of our being. So it's okay to take a lot of baby steps back. And that's what we're doing, right? As we practice doing the things that we want to do in our lives, as we grab the limited ideas and we let them go, and we start to fill that space with what we want, we're opening up that greater place. So we're freeing ourselves. And the beauty of these baby steps is that it's kind of like the domino effect. As you continue to take those baby steps, have you noticed things start to change? things start to get better in your life. You start to see that, oh my God, I can have prosperity. Oh my God, I can be an experience. I can have an experience of joy. I can have a relationship. I can have all of these things, and I can build a greater experience of my life. So it's the domino effect. So this is really a beautiful statement by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and she talks about how we can, with this domino effect, we can have that greater experience of the divine, and she reminds us of this in this statement. The Spirit knows nothing of imperfection. The Spirit shines through all your being, and it's clear with its clear holy light. From first to last in your real life, no error has fastened upon you. I love that. No error has fastened upon you. You don't have to accept it. Don't let it. Therefore, there is no dis-ease or imperfection in you. You are free from all thoughts of dis-ease. God is your life. God is your life. And dis-ease means those thoughts that cause our bodies to sometimes show up with sickness, right? Because we're buying into something. Like it's cold and flu season, right? Rhode Island has the worst flu of any state in the Union. I don't buy it. I don't accept it. That doesn't mean I don't take care of my body, because it's important to take care of our bodies, right? But I don't buy that. It's so interesting. So, you are already perfect in the eyes of the divine. Our joyful work is in revealing that perfection daily. That's our work. That's what we need to work on in our lives. So in conclusion, don't let the 60,000 thoughts scare you, because it has no power over you if you realize that that's there. Becoming aware of that. Even though 80 to 90% are negative and repetitive. Why? Because you've got this. I know you've got this. Because we all have the tools. We all have the power in our lives to be aware of those negative thoughts and to make new choices every day. Remember to stay away from the I ams that are negative or part of that negative self-talk, and to try asking, why do I feel I am not good enough? Or I am this? Why do I feel that? And then from there, choose the truth that you want. If I say I am poor, why do I feel poor? Because I have accepted something outside of myself as truth. Because the divine is pure abundance, is pure givingness of itself. And so I have to be willing to step into that in consciousness in so many different ways. Not just abundance. There's so many different ways that we can bring that up. So then just daily, make new thought choices or reframe our old stories. Look for the empowering beliefs and thoughts and put those into the space that you want to fill in your life. Because just as Emma Curtis Hopkins tells us, you are free from all thoughts of dis-ease. God is your life. Namaste.
Okay, so thank you, Reggie. So at this time, if you're comfortable, just try to feel your chair and ground yourself in this present moment. Feel comfortable to close your eyes if you'd like, or leave them open. It's a time for our prayer, affirmative prayer. And before we begin, I want us to center ourselves and imagine you're just surrounded in the gold light, a warm gold light all around your body, and particularly a second radiant gold light in the heart space. This gold light represents protection, oneness. It often represents the auric field of the heart. gold light is the gentle energy force representing the oneness that each one here shares with Spirit, with God, or whatever name you choose. Just take in 3 deep breaths. And I speak my word today knowing the power in it, of it, and through it. I speak my word as a light of God, as a love of God, as a child of God, and as a divine channel, knowing that each one here, each consciousness is one with the one, fully orbed in the mind of God. Each one here, his consciousness is in the known, knowing the truth of their being, of divinity, of divine perfection and wholeness. And knowing that God is love and light and truth, that God is the intuitive voice, God is the intuitive heartbeat, God is in the space of the body, guiding the heartbeat, the breath, the pulsations in the lung, blood in the veins. God is the air that we breathe, all manifested form, trees, birds, the earth, the astro, the cosmos, all things God is. God is infinite and abundant. God, Spirit, is the truth, the force of all things real, the seen and unseen, the manifested realm and the infinite possibility of all things unseen. And I know that I'm one with this light of God, one with the truth of all things divine. I'm one with the eternal power, the creative master of the universe, this architect, and this divine light and love. And I know as this is true for me, this is true of each one here. Each one here is a direct channel of divine light, love, and truth with no separation. Each one here is fully orbed in the mind of God with perfect heart, body, mind, spirit, and soul. And because I know this truth is in me and of me as I am embodying the faith, knowing the truth of the being of each one here, I know that the consciousness of each is on high, that the consciousness of each mind, each thought stays in the oneness of God, knowing that there is no discord, only the appearance, and it is just that. There is no dis-ease, that each one here carries thoughts of spiritual integrity, of authenticity, that each one has the power to create, the power to be free, to be who you are, that each one here, by just the word, the thought, is a manifester, that the realm of the seen is a direct representation of the powerful thoughts of the being of each one. And there is harmony in thought for all in this room, all sentient beings here, all watching on live stream and in the universe. I declare and proclaim that the mind of God, the one mind, is the mind that each one here shares and draws upon in the light, and that daily there is a reminder of the power of thought and intention, the purity of the heart space, and it is felt by each one. Each one is guided via thoughts, intuitive voice, the energy of the body, and the manifested form, what is real, cannot be unclaimed. And I am grateful for knowing this truth, that as each one here sits with a heartbeat and a mind to think, that the thoughts and the consciousness are on high, fully connected in Christ consciousness with no separation, no lack, no fear, no worry, no limitation, just a knowing after experiencing that God is real. And I release this word into divine spiritual law, knowing that it is done. and feeling the energy in this room, that each one is empowered, knowing the truth of their being. And as I release this word together, we say, and so it is.
So it is. Beautiful prayer. Thank you. Thank you. Practitioner life. So let's join together in our affirmation. So let's affirm this together by reading it together. Thoughts are things, therefore my thoughts are empowering and positive, and I live an empowered and positive life. Who wants to claim that?
Yes.
Yes. Let's read it one more time and really claim it. Thoughts are things, therefore my thoughts are empowering and positive, and I live an empowered and positive life. Now I'm going to add.
And now.
Now.